As a truck guy, there are a few things that I like more than a good deal. I mean, at the end of the day, there's nothing better than a good deal, because the better the deal you get, the further you can stretch your old dollars for things like building your truck or going to shows or overall just mobbing around with the homies. But there are some cases where the best deal maybe isn't the best deal after all, and if you've ever shopped for a diesel truck, then you probably already know where I'm going with this one. While the early 2000s were great in a lot of ways, one industry that took a pretty wicked hit was the diesel truck game. Specifically here, we're talking about the good old blue oval Ford Motor Company. But what happened? Why did Ford replace the iconic 7.3 Powerstroke that everyone just seemed to love? And more importantly, why does the 6-liter have such a bad rap? I'm Dustin with Custom Offsets. You guys can follow me on the gram at dusty.co, and today we're sitting down, we're spooling up the VGT, and we're praying that the heads don't fail and the TTY bolts don't stretch to find out why you may want a 6-liter Powerstroke turbo diesel. Those trucks just sound so good. There's just something about a 6-liter cold start when you forget to plug it in and they idle all rough, and then they do the high idle thing where it kicks in and they spool up and it sounds like a jet plane taking off. It just gets me going. When it comes to 6-liter trucks, they seem to be relatively popular. I mean, I had one, Hunter had one, Justin had one, Brent had one in an excursion for a while. They were just kind of all over the place. The common theme here, though, is that there were a ton of us that had one at one point in our lives, but none of us have them still. And after talking to most of the guys, the reasons all seem to be the same. Let me explain for a second here. In the early 2000s, Ford was running the iconic 7.3 Powerstroke turbo diesel. You guys know it. It's the one and only, built by Navistar with some help from Ford, of course. The 7.3 would be the most powerful diesel engine to date for Ford Motor Company, making just over 275 horsepower and more torque than ever before. The truck was reliable, it was dependable, and they just downright ran forever, mostly because they didn't make enough power to tear themselves apart. So much so, in fact, that there are guys still to this day 21.
You stupid.
They're not.
What's 9 plus 10?
21.
You stupid.
Freaking years later that swear by the 7.3 Powerstrokes. Things were good for the old Ford Motor Company back then. Or so they thought. Enter stage left, the EPA. In an effort to clean up our air and reduce emissions, the EPA posed new, stricter regulations around the NOx or NOx levels that could be produced by new vehicles, and old reliable 7.3 Powerstroke just wasn't going to cut it. Because of this, Ford knew a complete overhaul was necessary, and thus the 6-liter was born. When the 6-liter first hit the market, it seemed to be a noticeable upgrade. It featured things like 4 valves per cylinder head, an all-new, all-sexy variable geometry turbo, and of course, the one and only high-pressure HEUI injection system that the 6.0 is known for. And it really did seem to be the new king on the block, and for a few months after its release, yes, I said months, this would prove to be the case. As we always say, though, it's not all rainbows and unicorns in this Cinderella story. There's no glass slippers here or tales of a prince, just lots and lots of disappointment. For those of you who know the 6.0 Powerstroke, then you already know all of its quirks. However, if you're new to the platform, let me break it down for you for a second. Ask any truck guy, regardless if they have a diesel or a gas truck, what they think of the 6-liter Powerstroke, and you're bound to get one of two answers. Number one, guys love it and are gonna rave to you about them and how awesome they are and how they got the best deal on them forever, or you're gonna get some variant of a joke about head gaskets. You know what? I'm just gonna say it, okay? The 6-liter Powerstroke is the Subaru of the truck world. It's just the way it is. While there are plenty of jokes to go around when it comes to the good old 6-liter Powerstroke and their head gasket failures, there is some truth to the statements. Allow me to explain for a second. Most modern day diesels have some sort of oil cooler in the engine. This cooler works in two ways. Number one, helping warm the engine oil up quicker with the residual heat from the coolant that's running through the engine block and, keeping your cylinders cool. And it also helps to keep that oil cool once your engine reaches operating temperature. In the case of the 6-liter, this oil cooler sat in the valley of the engine or in between the V of the V8, right up on the top. It just sat right there. It's kind of cool actually. And overall, it worked relatively okay. Inside of this oil cooler are tiny little passages that the coolant flows through, exchanging heat from the engine oil and doing exactly what it's supposed to do. This works good so long as those little passages are open, flowing free coolant and exchanging heat just like it's supposed to do and like necessary. It's really a great setup. In the case of the 6-liter though, what happens is these tiny little passages become blocked with silicants that were in the coolant, restricting coolant flow. Coincidentally enough, next up on the old coolant train after the oil cooler is the one and only EGR cooler, which cools exhaust gases prior to dumping them back into the intake for a cleaner burn and less emissions and less NOx and all of that good stuff that the EPA wants us to do. This reduced coolant flow oftentimes causes a lack of coolant in the EGR cooler where temperatures can get awful hot because exhaust gases are just warm. High temps plus not enough coolant equals flash boiling coolant in the EGR cooler, which will then cause these coolers to fail, dump coolant into the cylinders, and then ultimately it stretches the TTY or torque to yield bolts that Ford used to hold the head gasket down in the first place. Not only did they use bolts that stretch, but they didn't have enough of them anyway, so then it just lifts the head off. It's just a chain reaction. Besides the ever iconic head gasket failure, the 6.0 had its fair share of troubles. The HEUI or HUI injection system worked great for vaporizing fuel and for creating a clean burn. However, it meant that any debris in the oil system could be catastrophic to the entire system. Now, additionally, any significant loss of oil pressure along the way, such as, an IPR valve maybe, could literally leave you stranded as the engine control module needs to see the oil pressure before it will fire the injectors. There's countless stories on all sorts of forums of guys having a no hot start because their IPR is failing and it won't drive enough pressure to fire the injectors off, which means your engine's not starting, homie. And that's just the beginning. We're talking fuel injection control module, low voltage, ICP sensors, blown boost tubes, stuck turbo vanes. The list just goes on and on and on. The 6.0 truly had its fair share of gremlins, and it really does take a special kind of guy or gal to own one. Never fear though, it's not all bad news if you're looking at a 6-liter. Despite all the little gremlins, the 6.0s are alright trucks. For as old as they make great power. The bottom ends are very stout, and the 5R100 automatic transmission is also king. It just handles a ton of torque if you throw it at it. If that's your thing, it might be a good option. Plus, they just sound freaking fantastic with that loud ass variable geometry, turbo goodness, and spoolie boy, and just, ooh, they're just so good. So with all the issues that we know about now, why in the world would you want a 6-liter Powerstroke in 2021 or heck even 2022? Because let's face it, we are closing on 2022 faster than Maverick closing on a MiG in Top Gun. For starters, because of all the issues, the 6-liters are typically priced quite a bit lower than a Cummins or Duramax equivalent from the same time frame. They make good power, and from my experience, I can say that they're just a blast to own. I had one, it was awesome. Cold starts are fantastic. VGT noises are great. They're not bad trucks. Additionally, most of the above mentioned issues can be solved for the low price of a few $1,000s and, a couple weekends spent in the garage doing what most guys refer to as bulletproofing their truck, which is a term coined by the one and only Bulletproof Diesel where you address most of the common failure points on the 6-liter Powerstrokes. Love them or hate them, you have to admit that the 6-liter Powerstroke owners are definitely a proud group. Maybe it's the constant worry about the catastrophic engine failure that keeps them banded together, or maybe it's just that their turbo whistle is just so good that it keeps them coming back. Either way, one thing is for sure here, if you're looking to buy one, you should definitely do your research beforehand so you know exactly what you're getting into. There's just a lot of info that you're gonna wanna know before you own a 6-liter Powerstroke. Well, there you have it, guys. There's our take on the 6-liter Powerstrokes. Would you own one, or are you staying far away? Let us know down in the comment section below, and as always, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. With that, I'm Dustin with Custom Offsets. We'll see you guys on the next one.